All right, good morning, Onyi, and every other person. You're welcome on board. All right, so today is Monday, the 28th of July, 2025. Month of July is it's as good as gone. We have just a couple of days to just tomorrow, Wednesday, and finally Thursday to be for July to be over, and then by Friday we already have entered the month of August. All right, so this morning we'll first of all look at the fundamental events that we have for this week, the key ones, the ones that will likely move the market, and from there we'll go on the chart to see what the technical holds for us. Morning, Madam Onaji and Ifeanyi, Ebenezer and Selem. So let's start. So today, Monday, there is no fundamental event at all. So expect one of these two things to happen today. Market can be very quiet and range. On the other hand, we may have some erratic movement. So trade with a lot of caution. Usually, when there's no news, market doesn't have direction. Usually, Monday is quiet because sometimes there may be news, it may be medium impact, but here today that we don't have anything at all that could be range. Though some pairs may just move technically, all the same, despite all odds. Some may still choose to move, but then we just trade. Overall, we need to trade with a lot of caution on a day like this. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the key event tomorrow is the JOLT job opening from the United States by 3 p.m. It's going to be a high impact event, and it will take place simultaneously with the CB consumer confidence. So both of them combined together will lead to some volatility on the dollar. But then it still comes on later in the day by 3 p.m. So that means that from now till 3 p.m. tomorrow, we don't expect any fundamental activity in the market at all. But tomorrow being Tuesday, which is one of the best days to trade, despite the fact that there may be no fundamental, there could still be some movement before the news is released by 3 p.m. On Wednesday, 2:30 a.m. in the morning, there will be CPI quarterly, CPI yearly from Australia, and trim CPI also. Three of them taking place simultaneously by 2:30 a.m. on Wednesday. So volatility is expected across board on the AUD pairs on Wednesday morning. Well, it's night time here in Nigeria, so like I always say, you have a choice. You may just wake up early to trade this particular news. It usually moves the market. CPI moves the market, so you may just take note of that in your calendar. And the other important event on Wednesday will be the ADP non-farm employment change, which will come up by 1:15 p.m. and advanced GDP price index by 1:30. Both of them could lead to volatility on the dollar. Then other events on Wednesday. Wednesday seems to be the busiest day of the week, for this particular week. You can see there are just a lot of events coming up on Wednesday. We've mentioned the UST, then 2:45 p.m. Bank of Canada monetary policy report, Bank of Canada rate statement, and overnight rates. This will lead to volatility on the Canadian dollar by 2:45 p.m. But then the biggest of all that day will be 7 p.m. where we have the federal funds rate and the FOMC statement. This is actually the biggest, event for Wednesday, and that will be from the United States. Please take note, Wednesday is, we're having fundamental event all around the day. So we should also trade with caution and trade more of the fundamentals on Wednesday. And on Thursday, there will be uh, retail sales from Australia. Then there are a number of events from Japan, which may impact upon the Japanese yen. There will be BOJ policy rate, monetary policy statement, BOJ outlook report, BOJ press conference. All this will impact upon the Japanese yen. Then later on in the day by 1:30 p.m., there will be GDP from Canada and followed simultaneously with a core PCE price index, employment cost index, and unemployment claims from the United States. So we expect a lot of activities on Thursday by 1:30 p.m. That's when we have the key event for the day. And finally, on Friday, the important event on Friday will be by 1:30 p.m. and that will be the average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and unemployment rate all combined together. We'll call it the NFP, non-farm payroll, which is the biggest event in the forex market. Why is NFP coming up? Because Friday will be the first Friday of the month of August. Usually NFP is released the first Friday of a new month. So we should expect a lot of volatility. And at PU Prime, we have it every first Friday that we trade live. So you need to join us to make money live this Friday by 1:30 p.m. as we trade the NFP live. All you need is a funded account to join us. And on that day, well, we'll be going live by 1:15 p.m. We'll give you the signal. We first take time to analyze. We don't just give signals at PU Prime. We'll give you the reasons why you are taking the signal. And that's why our services are very exceptional. Okay, somebody is saying they can't hear me. Is that true? Jamil says they cannot hear me. If you can hear me, please type a yes. Another person, if you can hear me, please type a yes. All right, so others can hear me, so and even clearly. So Jamil, you need to check your device. Let me just quickly respond to Jamil. Jamil, kindly check your device. Others can hear me. So Jamil, please check your device. Maybe you are disconnected. All right. Morning, Mrs. Bimbolo Motosho. All right. So Friday is the biggest of all the events this week. NFP, we are trading live. Make sure you join us to make money. We make money live at this live event. And I always say it with all confidence that we have a very, very high win rate for our live events. Yeah, we're not claiming we've done 100% all through, no, but to a very large extent, we've done about 80% and above, with our live events since inception. So join us this Friday, and we'll trade live. All right. So those are the fundamental events for this week. I'll switch over now to the charts, and we'll look at what the technicals is saying ahead of this new week. All right. So we'll look at just a few instruments. At least my focus is usually the ones that have a high probability. It's not really about the quantity, it's about the quality. So we'll be looking at the GBP USD. Now, I said it, if you followed my analysis a couple of weeks back, I've said it time without number that I believe the GBP USD might be getting ready for a kind of a long-term bearish outlook. If you follow my analysis way back, some couple of weeks back, I said it that I was seeing the possible formation of a head and shoulder, which may lead to a long-term bearish breakout. And that seems to be happening at the moment. So this is the GBP USD on the daily time frame, and we can see a head and shoulder pattern really forming, all within a rising wedge pattern also. We're seeing a rising wedge pattern. And if you go to the weekly time frame, we can see that the candle that closed last week, actually closed as a kind of a rejection candle, which may encourage a breakout to the downside. Let's see on the monthly if there's any other information. All right, on the monthly, we can see a kind of a reversal candlestick, though today is Monday. If this candle closes by the end of the week, by Thursday like this, closes at the end of the month, that is also an indication. But then that is still too early to decide because anything can happen in the course of this week. But let's just look more at what we are seeing on both the weekly and the daily time frame as an indication of a possible reversal. Let me still check further if we can have a trend line touching. Now we don't force these things. If it's not working, just leave it. This is the monthly time frame. All right, we have a kind of a downward trend line movement. All right, we have a descending trend line and we have a resistance. All right, so we're still very much in tune with a possible bearish movement on the GBP USD. We have a very powerful confluence there, a descending trend line with a resistance on the weekly, and on the daily, we're having the formation of a head and shoulder pattern. So even the course of the week, price is able to break out below the neckline, which is this minor support level here. There has to be a clear breakout. A breakout means you have a new candle that opens below that support zone, or which is the neckline. From there, we may see a long-term bearish movement. Now, the CPI the FOMC rather on Wednesday, and the NFP on Friday will actually contribute to this, and the outcome will determine where this movement will go eventually. If the data comes out, very good for the dollar on Wednesday for FOMC, and same thing happens on Friday, the news comes out good for the dollar on Friday for uh NFP, then that would trigger the long term. So we have a bearish long term outlook on the GBP USD. Now that's a big picture, it's a long-term thing, when it will trigger, I really don't know, but these are things we can look out for. But then I'm going to give us setup that will work in the course of this week. In analysis, we have short-term outlook, we have long-term, medium-term, and long-term outlook. Your job as an analyst is to catch up with all this and be able to follow up when the breakout happens so that we can trade and make a very good profit in the market. Now, for the setup that will likely work possibly today and in the course of this week, I'll be showing us gold. Gold is an instrument I've also followed closely in the last couple of days. And for gold, I remember telling us sometime last week that if you remember my analysis on gold, I said it that I was seeing a kind of a head and shoulder. Now it didn't look perfect, but then I said it was going to retrace and drop, and that has already happened. Now the next wave of movement I'm seeing on gold is a potential bullish movement. That is what I'm seeing, which may happen today. Now, why am I seeing that? If you look at the chart critically, we can see that price dropped rather to this support, to the tip of this support zone. And simultaneously also, that point is acting as a confluence between these higher lows. There is a higher low, a third point here, which is, coinciding with that support. So technically, we're looking for a bullish movement on gold. This is the 4-hour time frame. We can switch over to the 1 hour. On 1 hour time frame, we have a falling wedge pattern, and price has actually broken out. Let me take it down to 15 minutes again to get a closer look. Now, on the 15 minutes time frame, we can see clearly that price has broken out on gold, but then there is a minor resistance. There's a minor resistance here. Now, price may retrace downwards, but whenever price breaks out above that resistance, we can see there will be some very appreciable bullish movement on gold. So we're bullish on gold today. Take note, we have a bullish outlook on gold today, provided price is able to break out above that resistance zone I just drew up there. And if you go to the 1 hour time frame, it's clearer because at that instance, gold would have been able to do possibly what would be like an inverse head and shoulder pattern. It will have done an inverse head and shoulder pattern, which would trigger, the bullish movement. Currently, RSI is below 50. RSI is below 50 on gold, and MACD is also still below zero. So the coast is not yet clear for a bullish breakout. You can see it's not yet clear, but when that retracement happens and price breaks above that resistance, then we will see the bullish movement on gold. So we're bullish on gold today. And also we're going to be looking at a bearish movement on the New Zealand JPY. For New Zealand JPY, if you go on the daily time frame, All right, so this is the daily time frame for New Zealand JPY. We can clearly see that there is a resistance zone around here, and that resistance zone is touching the current daily candle. You can see that price is exactly on that resistance zone on the daily time frame. The resistance zone is coming from this region. Resistance, 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 and the current daily candle. Now, if you take it down to 1 hour, you can see clearly we have a trend line and another very clear trend line giving us a rising wedge pattern. So we'll be waiting in the course of today for price to break out downwards. And at that instance, our RSI should be clearly below 50. So in the course of today, if a new candle opens below the trend line with RSI below 50, it will be safe to trigger a sell on the New Zealand JPY. So we're bearish on the New Zealand JPY for today. All right, so I've looked at GBP USD. That's a long-term bearish movement. Gold, we're bullish. New Zealand JPY, we are bearish. And finally, I'll be looking at EuroCAD. Now, for EuroCAD, a very important setup is, taking shape on this instrument. Firstly, price is currently trading at a resistance level on the daily time frame. That's where price is trading. And also, I can see clearly the formation of what looks a lot like a rising wedge pattern, also on the daily time frame. Now, whenever we have a rising wedge pattern, it's an indication that price is getting ready to break out downwards. So if you are having it on the daily time frame, it's a very powerful setup that could lead to some, long-term movements in the bearish direction on an instrument. And thirdly, I'm seeing what looks a lot like the formation of a double top pattern, which will also trigger, if it works out, will also trigger a bearish movement on the Euro card. So from all indications, I have a bearish outlook on the Euro card, and that's on the daily time frame. Then we can still take it down to 1 hour and look at potential entry. You can see the current candle, in this last few candles on this instrument has been bearish. That's 1 hour. This is 4 hours. It's still looking bearish. All right, so we'll go back to 1 hour and we'll look at how we can capture a good entry. We have a rising wedge on 1 hour. Now I can see price is testing the trend line as we speak. It's just on that trend line. Now, with the kind of movement, the sharp movement that we have seen, it's possible we may see a retracement. Then a breakout will happen afterwards. And RSI is already below 50, but then at that point, RSI will also drop further below the current level, which is 45. So I'm anticipating the potential retracement. Let's go down to a lower time frame to confirm something. Okay, you can see this is 30 minutes time frame. Price RSI is already at 32, very close to 30. So if it may drop a little further, like I said, then RSI becomes oversold. It bounces off a little, then now break out. So watch out for this instrument in the course of today. We are bearish on the Euro card. All right, so that'll be all from my end for this analysis. I'll do a little recap of the instruments I've analyzed this morning. I've analyzed the GBP/USD. That is a long-term setup. It has not happened yet, but that's a projection we have of a bearish movement on GBP/USD, except if market condition changes, except that, But then for the ones that will likely trigger in the course of today, I've given you my outlook on gold, and I said I'm bullish on gold on both the 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame. Even I think I still show you down to the 15 minutes time frame. And I'm also bearish on the New Zealand JPY on the 1 hour, and I'm bearish on the Euro card on the 1 hour. So I gave four 1 hour setup, gold, Euro card, New Zealand, JPY. Okay, three: gold, Euro card, New Zealand, JPY. All of them are 1 hour. Then GPUSD is the one that is long term. We're still looking at it. It's still, it's still forming. It has not yet completely formed. All right, so those three setups, just watch out for it in the course of today, and let's see how it goes. So at this point, I'll take questions. If you want me to analyze any specific instrument, then you can drop it. All right, Ayomiku is asking me to check AUD card. Progress is asking me to check USD card. Grace USD JPY. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the AUD card. All right, so this is AUD card on the daily time frame, and price is trading around a resistance level. Well, it looks bearish, but not the kind of bearish setup I really would have looked out for. It's not it may sell, it may, but it's not fitting, too much into the kind of setup I look out for. But the fact is that price hits a resistance on the daily time frame, and there was a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern here. The thing about this particular one is this uh price will need to break this particular support zone before you can have a free flow of movement. If price touches it, there is a possibility of a bounce, then possibly a breakout. So even though it may sell, I'm not really putting too much uh view on this. So just what if you're already on the sell on it, you may hold on. But like I said, take note there is a support. There's a support zone here from where price may drop and bounce. That's very possible, except if price is able to break out, below this support zone, and that would give us more clarity. And if price in that support zone and bounces, it may even go ahead now to form a head and shoulder and now drop. So the critical part now for this AUD card is this support zone, which is very, very close to where price is currently. So if it goes all the way there to hit it and form a head and shoulder, I mean, that's a perfect one for a massive drop later. But like I said, the critical point is that support zone we are seeing at the moment. But overall, we still have a bearish outlook. USD card. USD card is the next one, and that's from Progress. Now, in reality, I had to take a critical look at this. For USD card, if price is able to, you can see it's trending up on the weekly time frame. These are higher lows and there's a higher low region from where we could have a long-term bullish breakout. That's on the weekly time frame. If you take it down to the daily time frame, it's actually forming a triple bottom pattern, which could also lead to a long-term bullish breakout. But then that bullish breakout is not going to happen until price breaks out above the neckline. That is when we can anticipate that long-term bullish breakout. And that's why I still believe GPUSD may sell, because GPUSD, if USD card is going to buy, that means dollar is strong, and that could lead to a bearish movement on the GBP That's why I said if the data on Wednesday and Friday comes out good for the dollar, that can lead to a long-term movement on the dollar, which you see GBP USD also selling. But at the moment, price has not gotten to the buy zone on the USD card. Still has about some 40 pips to go. And also, we will not neglect the fact that price is currently trading on the descending trend line. These are lower highs. It's still trading around this lower high. So you need to trade USD card with a lot of caution. If you are not on a trade at the moment, you know, I would say just hold on. The real movement on USD card will come up after price breaks above this resistance zone. So it's not yet time to trigger any trade, because at the current location at the current point where it is, what we can see is the potential bearish movement, except there's a volatility that pushes it beyond that trend line boundary and breaks that resistance above. Yes, if it can break that resistance above, yes, I would say it has entered the buy zone. But for now, it's not yet in that zone. So just hold on and see it break that level first. Or if you're already on the trade with caution, put necessary risk management in place. All right, so that's my view on the USD card. Then Grace is asking about USDJPY. Now for USDJPY, the dollar seems to be in an uptrend. There's a previous support, sorry, resistance turn support. There's a resistance turn support, and we can see there is a morning star kind of candlestick pattern here, which has led to some bullish movement already. So price may be trending up. It all depends on the level of volatility we see in the market in the course of today, and price may be approaching that resistance zone. So what else can we see? You can see the current candle looks bullish. Should we enter it buy? No, it doesn't work that way. Now we need to also identify that there is a support here on the 1 hour. There is a minor support here on the 1 hour time frame. So we may end up having a retracement and a breakout. So if there's a retracement and a new candle opens above this level, yes, you can trigger a buy to this resistance level, which works for both the 1 hour and the daily time frame. So wait for a retracement, and if a retracement doesn't happen, just wait for a new candle that will open above this minor resistance block that I just drew, and you may just target maybe some 20-25 pips as price goes into that resistance zone. So I'm bullish on the USDJPY, just waiting for the breakout to happen above the current level. Like I said, we may have a retracement and a breakout. So let's take note of that for the person asking about USDJPY. GBPJPY. GBPJPY has been in a range for over a week now, and what I'm still seeing is still a range. So I would rather advise you avoid it for now. It's still ranging. Price is still ranging on the GBPJPY. Avoid it as much as possible for now. Shehu is asking 15 minutes on gold. We already analyzed gold. We're bullish on gold. But like I said, you can see, I said it. I said I expect price to drop, and that is already happening. You can see it on 1 hour. I said it may end up making an inverse head and shoulder, then breakout. So it just between then and now, you can see there is already a drop on this candlestick. That's on 1 hour. Let's take it to 15 minutes, just like Mr. Sheu said. Though we actually looked at 15 minutes, you can see that bearish movement is already on. So if price reverses back now and breaks out above this level, yes, that's when you can trigger a buy on gold. So we still have that bullish outlook on gold. Euro USD, Euro JPY. Okay, I think I should stop with those two. Euro USD is still evolving, but just like I said, I'm bearish on the GBP USD. I'm only waiting for some extra confirmation on this one. It's also, we saw a rising wedge pattern, a possible double top on GBP USD. What I'm seeing on Euro USD is a potential shoulder, head, and shoulder. That's a head and shoulder on the daily time frame. And if it eventually works out, that is expected to lead also to a long-term bearish breakout. So it's also telling us that it looks like the dollar is getting set for some long-term bullish movement. When the dollar is bullish, then pairs like GBP USD, Euro USD will go massively bearish. So that's what I'm seeing that is forming on both of these instruments. They are looking a lot bearish. Now let me see if there is a descending trend line. I think we do have one on the monthly time frame on the Euro USD. Now we don't force these things. If it doesn't touch, we ignore it. Okay. All right. We have a perfect touch here. All right. So on the monthly time frame, we can see that price is actually descending. Lower high. This is the third lower high, which is indicative of a potential reversal. That's the monthly. Weekly, nothing much on weekly. Then we come down to daily, and on daily we can see the pattern is looking a lot like it's still evolving, but it's looking like it's forming a head and shoulder. If a new candle breaks out below this place, or better still below this other side, which will be the neckline, then we'll anticipate a long term. But the truth is that it's still long term. So if you're not already on it, just ignore for now. It's still an evolving setup. It's an evolving setup on both the GBP USD and the Euro USD. And that's why your focus on now should be either gold, Euro card, New Zealand JPY. Those are trades that will evolve in the course of today. Euro JPY, Euro New Zealand. All right, so this is Euro JPY. Now, most of the JPY pairs are actually looking bearish, but not all of them have the a very high probability kind of setup. And that's why I only mentioned the New Zealand JPY. AUD JPY too is looking like it, but the setup on the New Zealand JPY is far better. And that's why, I always focus on high probability setup. But then this is Euro JPY. Price is trading at a weekly resistance level or with resistance zone. You can see the candles are kind of displaced, but notwithstanding, we still have a rising wedge pattern here, which is indicative of a potential reversal into the bearish direction. So we're bearish on the Euro JPY. You'll be waiting for a new candle to break out below the trend line with RSI clearly below 50. So we're bearish on the Euro JPY. You're welcome, Mr. Biodun. And finally, Euro New Zealand. Okay, I think I omitted this. It should be one of the instruments I really listed out, but it just skipped my mind. All right, the Euro New Zealand too is bearish. You can see the Euro pairs are looking bearish. Euro CAD, Euro JPY, Euro USD, Euro New Zealand. Now for Euro New Zealand on the weekly time frame, we can see that there has been an uptrend, the last couple of weeks, and the clear thing has been happening is that most of the candles have been closing as rejection candle, but there has not been a reversal the new week, even though it closed as a rejection candle. But hopefully, there are some euro events in the course of this week. If they come out bad for the euro, that might lead to the beginning of the downward trend on the euro pairs, especially the euro New Zealand. But even in line with that, there is equally a resistance level or a resistance zone that price hit and price close on that level. At least in the last 2 weeks price has hit that level without a reversal, and price closed on it again last week. This is the resistance zone. Okay, so if things go well this week as planned, we may experience a reversal. But then let's go down to the daily and the 4 hour to look at that closely. On the daily, we really don't have anything much, but on the 4 hour time frame, this is what I'm seeing forming here. It's not too sharp, but I'm seeing a head and shoulder here, which may lead to that bearish breakout on the Euro New Zealand. And a further outlook also shows we may have, at least we can have a trend line right here. It's not really the trend line, but we can have the second point there. It's not bad. And okay, so we have a rising wedge right here also. So we have the rejection candles on the weekly time frame with the resistance and what looks a little like a head and shoulder. But important thing is if price brings out below the trend line, yes, we'll have a bearish movement on the Euro New Zealand. So that's a bearish one on Euro New Zealand, and it will be a swing. It will be a 4 hour setup. All right. So it's a bearish setup on Euro New Zealand. Okay, I think I've attended to all the requests. Um, Euro USD is bearish. You can watch the video later. Dan, I've repeated that multiple times. All right. Mr. Sojo Milano, please can you just send me a chat again on my WhatsApp like you did so that we can attend to what you are inquiring about. All right, I've attended to all the requests here, and that will be all from my analysis this morning. If you joined us a bit late, don't worry. I'll upload the link to this video. You can watch it again, and that can guide you on all the trade ideas that we have shared this morning. And also, don't forget, Friday is going to be our live trading session for NFP. NFP's non-farm payroll is the biggest news event in the forex market, and it comes out the first Friday of every month. We have had a very high success rate trading live events at PU Prime. Two events we trade monthly, NFP and CPI. And like I said, we've not achieved the 100%. The 100% means it's a trading session, live session without any loss at all. It has not happened. But so far, I can guarantee you that we've had over 80% winning rate, with our live trading session. So I encourage you to join us this Friday. What do you need to join us? Join us with a live account with PU Prime, and not just a live account, a funded account, because we're going to be making money live on Friday. So if you're on the platform this morning, you don't have a live account, go ahead and open one. Reach out to your account manager, fund your account, verify it, and be with us live on Friday. We're going to be going live by 1:15 p.m. So take note of that in your calendar, and maybe you need to put a reminder. 1:15 is 1:15, no African time. We'll analyze the market for a few minutes and we'll drop the signal. The signal is going to be the entry price, the take profit, and the stop loss. So we'll see on Friday for that. Definitely online sessions like this still continues in the course of the week. By 12:30 p.m., we're still going to have our afternoon analysis session. We do that every single day of the week. And don't forget, we have physical training sessions twice in a week also on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Abuja office is 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday. Lagos is 11 a.m. So join us for all these events. If you live in Abuja or around this environment, our address is 50 Ebitu Ukiwe Street. That's Walk and Connect Building, 50 Ebitu Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. And if you live around Lagos and its environment, the address is Agos Executive Lounge, 54B Adeniyi Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. We'd like to see you at our office. We want you to be educated on how this market works. All right, take care and have a great week ahead. Bye bye. To those saying thank
Thank
you,
you.
I say thank you to you too.
Yeah.
Madam Omotosho,
Thank you
Michael
very much,
Efim,
sir.
Mrs. Onaji.
Have
Enjoy
a
the
good
week.
day.
You too, ma.
And you too.
Yes.
Yeah. Have a nice